Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of my Out of the Park Baseball 22 series with the Pittsburgh Pirates. And as you can see, we are at the end of the regular season, so we finished up the 2022 season and actually went not that bad. As you can see, we finished 4th in our division, actually getting 76 wins, so a good bit better than we were last season. Was pretty interesting, so pretty far ahead of the Reds there. And then, speaking, in terms of draft positioning next year and such, we should have about the 9th to 10th pick. I'm not sure what the tiebreaker would be with the Tigers here, because we do have the same record as them. But we'll have barely a top 10 pick, so but again, a decent amount of improvement. I'm going to go look at the history index here to see kind of our expected win-loss. And according to this, we overperformed by 2 games. It was interesting. Last year we underperformed by 2 games, so kind of balancing it out there a little bit. Of course, we only won 67 games last year, 76 this year, so reversing the numbers there and improving by 9. So not a bad season at all for us. And the main thing why we were much better as a team this year than last year was definitely because of our offense. As you can see here, we were 5th in runs scored in the National League, which is pretty crazy because last year we were by far the worst, I believe, or if not the worst, like we were like bottom 2, along with our pitching that was pretty bad, and our pitching still was pretty bad. As you can see, not many good numbers there pitching wise. Defense was actually pretty decent, 7th in zone rating, but hitting we were 5th in runs scored, 7th in WOBA, 5th in OPS, 6th in on base, 4th in batting average. So we were a team that was scoring some runs during the season, and kind of with the moves we made, it really makes sense. Of course, I'm going to go over kind of the performances throughout the season as I usually do in the end of season episode. Just right from the jump, our entire team actually just hit a ton better. We didn't really, have a bunch of new guys in the lineup necessarily, but we had a lot of guys who improved upon their past seasons in the organization. Like our catching tandem has, of course, been pretty decent this entire time. It's not absolutely fantastic, but we came into the series with guys who I was comfortable with just rolling out there every day as starting catchers, and it was pretty good. First of all, the catcher that we took in the Rule 5 draft here, Ben Rortvedt, he improved a ton. He's up to a 70 grade player with potential to grow even more. As you can see, his hitting ratings, they're pretty much almost maxed out. He can gain a little bit more in some of his power and discipline there. Again, not a great defensive catcher, but a guy who we got in the Rule 5 draft and really, really helped our team out this year. Jacob Stallings had quite the year of his own. A 377 BABIP pretty much sparked a great offensive season for him, where he slashed 300, 341, and a 442 there. That's a career high by far. He had an awesome offensive season for us. Both of them were very impactful players. You can see there from how much WAR they had. They both were great players for us this season. Our catching tandem, I would assume, would have to probably be one of the best in the league at this point. And then even Chaiju Ko, he started to hit here at the end. Ended up slashing 245, 310, 448. That BABIP, again, pretty low. I would pretty much chalk this up to kind of just inexperience. I've noticed that in my time in playing the game that it can take some international signings to it can take them a bit to get into the swing of things. So some of them will have pretty poor first seasons compared to what they end up being in the major leagues. So that's pretty much what I'm hoping happened here. He was about league average as a hitter, of course. You want your first baseman to be much better at the plate than that, but I'm pretty confident that he'll have a better season next year. During the whole second half of the year, he was pretty good. Colin Moran was a left-handed pitch hitter for us. He only has 1 year of team control left, I think. His salary is going to go up a decent bit. I'm not sure what we're going to do with him. It might not be worth to keep him around because I'm not really sure what kind of spot he would hold, and don't really want to pay a pinch hitter about $4 million on the Pirates because that just wouldn't really make sense. But he was about a league average hitter for us. Kevin Newman, a guy who don't even really want to talk much about, of course. He had a pretty good season last year. I mean, he's basically just like an old school player. He pretty much rarely ever strikes out. He never really walks, doesn't hit for much power. He's like the classic like shortstop. I mean, he's just not a good hitter really at all. Last year, he just ran into a ton of BABIP luck. Had a great season. This season, his ratings have tanked a bunch. He's not even really good defensive shortstop. He happened to have a great year in the field last year, shortstop. Pretty much everything came together for him that year, and I mean, I just don't see a reason to really play him going forward, especially with the guys that we have. Speaking of someone that we picked up in the middle of the year, I mentioned last episode that I ended up picking up Donovan Solano. He ended up getting hurt, so he didn't spend too many games with the club. He didn't really perform well either, but of course, with his league-leading batting average, I mean, he had a great season sparked by like a huge BABIP luck. But I figured it was worth to give him a shot, and he's been pretty much banged up the entire time. Definitely won't be bringing him back next year because he'll want too much, but he was fine to have her like a minimum this year. Brian Hayes was by far the best guy we had this year. I mean, 285, 357, 454, improving on that rookie season that he had last year, that first full season that he had last year. Improved in every facet of hitting. Had a great season. And then fielding-wise, not quite as good as last year, but I mean, he's an elite defensive third baseman, probably the best defensive third baseman in the game. And I mean, he's just a great player for us. Steven Almeas. Now, if you watched the Tiger series that I ran in last year's OTP, you would remember Steven Almeas. We had him on the team for a while in that save where he is pretty much just as he is now. He's a fantastic defensive infielder. His ratings, I don't think, are as good here as they were in that game, but he's an absolutely fantastic defensive infielder. Can't really hit. Now, the thing in the Tiger series was that Almeas was a postseason hero. I believe he won an MVP for one of the postseason series. I don't think it was the World Series, but he came up really clutch for us during that postseason with a lot of clutch hits, and helped propel us, forward in the playoffs that season. And I think he might have done it multiple times as well. Cole Tucker, a guy who I pretty much forgot about last season. Pretty much gave him a good chunk of the time at shortstop this year, or really anywhere in the infield. He is a great utility guy. Played a lot at shortstop, played a good amount of center field this year, also some third and right field, and he was pretty good. He could play all around the diamond for us. He's a guy who's going to be in the lineup pretty much every day, probably at a different position, and he hit really well this year, and with those hitting ratings, I think he is pretty good for PNC Park. A good gap power, got good discipline, good avoid K rating, ratings that I like. So I feel pretty good about him going forward. The BABIP 340 is definitely pretty high, but pretty satisfied with that season from him. Brian Reynolds actually started to hit this year, which was pretty amazing to see. I mean, it wasn't his 2019 rookie season by any means, but he was fantastic. Well, he wasn't fantastic, but he was much better than he had been in 2021 and especially 2020. Hopefully, this is him getting back on the road to being a productive hitter for us, because we definitely will need him to. And he also played pretty good defense in left field. Is a positive out there. Can only really play out there, though, which is the problem. Ender Inciarte was a guy who really turned back the clock this season. I mean, not necessarily, actually. I mean, his slugging went down over the course of the season, but, I mean, a 345 OBP, I mean, we'll take that for like a veteran outfielder who actually didn't play that great of defense in center field. He still is capable of playing an okay center field with that 65 outfield range at this point in his career, but definitely not the defensive center fielder that he used to be in his career. but it's still a pretty good season from him. Definitely interesting buy low candidate that we got, and he's not looking for a lot in the offseason, so possibly could bring him back, although our outfield is kind of crowded at the moment. Jake Bowers had another great season for us this year, pretty much repeated what he did last season. Of course, we got him off of waivers last season. He performed pretty well with us, much better than he had in short stints of his major league career beforehand. 260, 355, and 422. Had some injury troubles, only started 100 games, but still was pretty good in those 100 games, and he should be in our starting lineup again next season, most likely slotted in right field, because, I mean, we'll still have Reynolds, still have Coe, so yeah, he should be pretty much guaranteed to start right field. And then Estevan Florial is kind of an interesting one because, I mean, he did not really hit well at all. I mean, 208, 269, not good numbers there at all, but did somehow slug over 400 with those numbers. I would like to say that maybe he was just hitting the ball hard and it just was hitting to the wrong place a good amount of the time, but he's an interesting guy. Of course, he was a Rule 5 pick, so we had to keep him on the Major League roster the entire season. But he's probably a guy that'd be interested in sticking AAA next year, try to get him develop a good bit more. I'd be interested to see how his defense was in right field. Not awesome. He actually played a lot of center field for us also, just because he was playing a lot there before. I basically made Inciarte play there all the time. But yeah, definitely want to give him some more time in the minor leagues next year so he can hopefully develop a little bit more. He was our other Rule 5 pick this past season. And now, right off the bat, you'll notice that there are probably some new faces in this bullpen. That's because I made a lot of waiver claims, especially at the end of the season. For some reason, Archie Bradley was here on waivers. His overall was actually better at that point. It must have went down since. And he actually wasn't very good with us in that time, so probably really wasn't worth getting him. The point in the season where we got him, he had been pretty good with the Mets. Actually had started some games, which is interesting. I would have to assume this probably is an opener, though, and not actually starting the game. I mean, or like going like deep into the ball game. But yeah, we picked him up off waivers, and then we also got Taylor Rogers, who I don't even know why he was on waivers. And as you can see, as soon as he got to our team, he was just dominant. He's an awesome reliever. The thing is with him is, I mean, he's on an expiring contract, so we basically just picked him up to have him for the rest of the year. He's going to need to be re-signed, but I'm not trying to pay $8.5 million for a reliever, so definitely don't think he'll be back. Archie Bradley does have another year in his contract, so he'll be back. Although definitely wish Taylor Rogers was the one that would be back. Pitching wise, I mean, a lot of guys just weren't good. Steven Braugh's luck ran out. Our all-star from last year did not have a good season this year. He's got another year team control, and I'm honestly not sure what's going to happen if his salary is like in the sevens, or like, I mean, it's going to be increased from his $5 million. I don't know if I'm trying to pay that, so we'll have to see. When we get into the offseason, JT Brubaker, of course, who had an injury that made him miss most of the season. Actually, half of the season. It just seemed like a while because he got hurt pretty near the beginning, and then I ended up coming back at the very end of the season. Not very good. He's just kind of a meh innings eater pitcher. I mean, I don't really like his ratings at all. But, I mean, just for now, he's just filler, and he'll be getting to his first year of arbitration this year, so I'll be interested to see what he makes. Alex Claudio wasn't very good. We picked him up off waivers, of course. I mean, he's a pretty interesting ground ball pitcher, but other than that, I mean, just kind of a reliever throw in there at this point. Javier Guerra, I mean, pretty much after the thing is with our team this year, no one was really too bad pitching-wise. There's just a lot of, like, average, I would say. So, like, there weren't, like, a ton great performances except really, like, Taylor Rogers. But, like, Guerra was fine. this guy who we got in the Rule 5 draft, he was fine. Although, I mean, he has really low control, so his seasons will probably be pretty volatile. Like, you'll have like one really good season probably, and then struggle the next. So he'll probably be pretty volatile. Isaac Mattson, who we picked off of waivers, he was just kind of meh. I still think his ratings are pretty decent though. Sean Poppin is unfortunately had to make a lot of starts for us. We had a lot of trouble keeping starters healthy in our prospects that we have. I'm just not ready to call them up yet. Adbert Alazai had an absolutely terrible season. He's injured right now. Nicole Bolton, of course, is still injured, but I mean, at this point, I'd probably just DFA him because, you can see 7.75 ERA. He had an awful season. Mitch Keller had another Mitch Keller season. 3.85 FIP, best starter on the team, ratings-wise. He's a guy who's just pretty good. Of course, an all-star this year. He's just going to keep being an organization. Definitely like to have him around. Maybe next year I'd be interested in talking extension, or at the end of next year because he'll be 1 year in the arbitration. But he's a guy who I really like in this team. Richard Rodriguez and his bad ratings. He's had a very good season. I'm actually not sure how he's rated that low when his ratings here look pretty decent. Blake Wyman had a pretty decent year as a reliever out of our bullpen. Nick Nelson was the surprise of the year. Of course, he pitched with New York a little bit early in this year, but as soon as he got to us, he was a pretty good starter in the 13 starts that he made for us. Was worth about 2 wins, so he's a guy I'm definitely interested to see how he progresses, especially since his stamina isn't that high, but he does have 4+ pitches, so interested to see how he progresses. And then Taylor Rogers, of course, who I mentioned was ridiculous once he got to Pittsburgh, and just had a really strong finish out to the year. So that's pretty much all I have for going over, guys. It was a pretty good building season. I was actually pretty pleased with how this season went. I forgot if I mentioned, but I changed the hitting view. I may have already mentioned this in the beginning of the video, so if I did, just disregard it. But I changed the hitting view with a lot of stuff I like. Changed it to walk and strikeout rates, which I feel like are more useful. Included some metrics like WOBA, pitches per plate appearance, which I think interesting to look at. Helps know if your hitters are working counts. WRC plus, stolen base rate, and then WAR and win probability added. I'm probably going to do the same thing for pitching next time. Overhaul the pitching stat overlay, so I can look at a lot of stuff that I like to use, and then we'll go over that when the time comes. But thank you guys for watching. Definitely enjoying making this series, and hopefully I'm able to keep putting out pretty regularly. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you have been enjoying, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.